Hey guys, it's Leah. Welcome back, or welcome if you are new, and welcome to a fun reading vlog where Valentine's Day prompts are going to be picking what I read for a week. I was thinking about what videos I wanted to do around Valentine's Day. I wanted to do a romantasy vlog, and then I wanted to do something else that I could read multiple genres for. I can read books that are completely out of my control. Then I came up with this idea and I thought it'd be really fun, so I have an entire random wheel generator full of prompts corresponding to Valentine's Day. I'll pop the wheel up on screen, but just to give you a few examples, we have a romantasy, flowers on the cover, two people on the cover, LGBTQIA plus romance, cover with red and pink, favourite love song chooses, a popular book boyfriend. We also have a trope that corresponds to my in real life relationship, a book I'm hoping to fall in love with, a book I love the cover of, an author I'm hoping to fall in love with, just things like that. So I have no idea what we're going to be reading. I think maybe spinning 3 times is going to be the best option, so hopefully we cover some ground and maybe a couple of different genres. I am so excited. I think maybe we'll also spin all 3 of them now, and then when it comes to me reading that specific prompt, I won't tell you what book I'm reading for them until we get to that point. So, oh my god, I'm nervous. Okay, the first spin. I'm scared. You guys can see what it is. What is it? A red and pink cover. Okay, we can work with that. Oh my god, nothing is even coming to mind. Might be something screaming at me, but I genuinely... Wait, I'm gonna have to do my research on that, I fear. Hi guys, obviously the first prompt, as you would have just seen, is a book with a pink and red cover, and I'm not gonna lie, why was it so hard to find a book with a pink and red cover? There were quite a few that I really wanted to read that have American covers that were pink and red, but some in the UK don't. And although I probably easily could have swayed it that way, it felt like it would have been cheating slightly, but I did find a book that is actually a 2025 release. I think it comes out at the end of February, and I do have a proof for it, so I would like to read it before it's published anyway, but I think it also does have a pink and red cover in both the UK and the US, so that made me feel a little bit better. It is Deep Cuts by Holly Brickley. I had never heard anyone talk about this until I saw it on one of those Goodreads interviews when it was basically saying like one of the most hyped fiction books of the year. Then I got my hands on a proof on my Kindle and I started reading it last night, and I don't know how to feel about it. In it, we are essentially set in Berkeley on a campus in 2000, and we are following our protagonist who meets a guy one day at a bar who is a singer-songwriter. She is utterly obsessed with music. She says she has no musical talent, but she has a lot of opinions on it. She's very opinionated on music. And I was going into this like, okay, maybe it's gonna give Daisy Jones and the Six, but less interviews, more like narrative and dialogue and descriptions. And in many ways it feels like it is like that. I'm currently 40% of the way through, so I read quite a bit yesterday. Right now we're very much just following their relationship and their dynamic whilst they sort of collaborate on Joe, the singer-songwriter's work. And it is a really interesting story. I'm really finding so much enjoyment in learning about these characters, but I will say, like, the music references. I adore music so much. The Beatles, for example, I'm absolutely obsessed with them. I've been obsessed with them my entire life, and they keep referencing artists like the Beatles. And initially when I was starting the book, I was like, oh my god, this is perfect. This is absolutely a pop culture reference that I can get behind. But why is it every single other sentence? Like, every single other sentence they're either quoting a song or quoting an artist or quoting like a period of time. And I love it in many ways. I think it makes the story a whole lot more believable because we are set in our real world with real artists and they're discussing real artists that we all know and love. But it's so often right now, and it literally is every other sentence, and I'm like, please can we just stop the pop culture references for 2 seconds? All of these characters are so messy and so flawed, and they go through so much, and I love character analysis like that, but it feels like it's very much being overshadowed by all of the musical references. I am still intrigued to carry on with the book. I think the book is only like 280-ish pages, so it's not extremely long. I think I have about 3 hours left of the book on my Kindle. Hopefully the second half and the ending will be slightly better and slightly more engaging for that, but yeah, those are my thoughts on Deep Cuts so far. I will update you again once I have more thoughts. Good morning guys. Last night I finished Deep Cuts. I don't think I filmed a single bit of B-roll really whilst reading this book. I actually ended up reading it really quickly, which I'm quite happy about, because for a second there, I'm not gonna lie, probably like the first 40% of the book was so incredibly slow for me, and I felt quite bored in the first half of the book. I'm not gonna lie, like I was really struggling and wanting to actually keep on reading it despite reading it so quick. But despite all of that, I did end up reading it really quickly. I finished it last night, and the second half of the book got so much better. I already mentioned in my previous update how I just felt like the pop culture references were so heavy-handed. Like, it really felt like, respectfully, all of the musical references were being jammed down our throat. And I'm somebody who loves music, as I've already touched upon, and I love pop culture references that I know and that I can really enjoy. There was a pop culture reference in this book, for example, where the main character was listening to like my favourite Fleetwood Mac song, which isn't one of their really popular ones, and I was like, okay, damn, she sees me, I see her. But there was so many, and I think maybe the reason I enjoyed the second half more was because when it came to the climax, for example, we really had to focus more on the actual characters and the actual plot. I really wanted to love it, and I think at the end of the day I just quite liked it. Like, I think I'm gonna rate it a solid 3.25. Perhaps I also maybe read it at the wrong time, and that's not why I enjoyed it as much as I initially hoped I would. I don't know, but I ended up rating it 3.25. I think I would recommend it to some certain people. Definitely don't go into it expecting it to be like Daisy Jones and the Six like I did, solely because of its music factor. Like, in many places it is so messy, and I really liked that element. I really adored how messy and flawed the characters were. I think that is always such a breath of fresh air in reading in a literary book, because it's so real and it's so raw and it's so human, and I really appreciated and I really like that element, but it was nothing to do really like Daisy Jones and the Six. So don't go into it expecting that. But maybe if you don't really mind heavy-handed pop culture references, especially if it's something you're passionate about like music, maybe then read it. I'm still happy that I read it. It is a proof that it's coming out this year, so I'm also happy that I finally ticked that off of my list. And my NetGalley score, babe, is looking so good in comparison to the beginning of the year. But yeah, I thought in terms of the romance subplot, I really liked the push and pull that these characters had, and like I said, it was really so messy and there was a lot of miscommunication, but I really liked that element, and when we were focusing on it more, that was when my enjoyment for the book just went up. That was my read for the pink and red cover prompt. Let's see what prompt 2 is, and hopefully I enjoy it a lot more than I did this. Going on to the second book that I'm going to be reading for this video, I'm intrigued to see what book I read first and how I felt about it, but the second prompt is gonna be... Okay, I've spun it. Why do I get nervous every single time? You guys can see it, I can't. Has it worked? A pink... Shut up. What is happening? A pink cover. I swear, imagine the third prompt is just red cover, and all we've been doing for this video is reading red and pink books. Oh, for God's sake. Okay, well, the second prompt chose for me to read a pink cover. I have a feeling I know what this one is gonna be. Future me will grab the book and let's start reading that one. Now on to the second book for this video, and as you would have seen, the prompt was a book with a pink cover. As soon as I got this prompt, if I'm being honest, I kind of knew what I wanted to read, because it is also a book on my February TBR, and I feel like this book, just the look of it and also the title, is the epitome of Valentine's Day. And as you would have already seen, it is Wild Love by Elsie Silver. This is also my first ever Elsie Silver. I do think that you're meant to read her other series first, the Chestnut Spring series. I don't know how they are sort of correlated, but I am going to go with this one first. Obviously for this video, it's the one that fits the prompt. I've been very intrigued to read a book by Elsie Silver for a really long time. I've had so many people recommend to me the Chestnut Spring series. If you think it is something that I would like, definitely let me know. But we are of course starting with Wild Love, which is the Rose Hill series. So I am also starting a new series. I actually don't mind that, because I don't think I'm in the middle of any romance series at the minute, other than Magnolia Parks. But like Daisy Hates Babe, when is the next one coming? We have no idea. But like, I've been kind of missing a good romance series from my life. So this is the one that we're going to be doing, and I'm loving it so far. I'm currently 15% of the way through, but I saw it was on Kindle Unlimited, so I am reading it on my Kindle. I'm finding these characters really interesting, off of the back of the fact that I feel like you need to read the Chestnut Spring series before, or not that you need to, like I feel like it's going to be one of those interconnected romance series. Due to the Chestnut Spring series, some of these characters have already been established, so I'm really intrigued to see how I'm going to feel about them when I don't have that sort of background history. Like I said, I am really enjoying it so far. It is like a brother's best friend sort of romance, and it's fun. Elsie Silver's writing style was definitely so accessible and so easy to fly through. I really want to read a lot more of it today. I'm actually about to head out to a cafe, which is why I have this turtleneck underneath this jumper. I'm aware it doesn't look great, but babe, I live in the UK and it's so cold and I'm ready to go out, so ignore that. I'm very intrigued to see how the romance is going to continue blossoming, and like I said, I've been kind of missing a romance in my life recently, and due to the month of love, I feel like there is no better time than to read this, and maybe I'm just going to become obsessed with Elsie Silver like everyone else. I'm going to head to a cafe. I'm going to bring probably my Kindle with me and read it a little bit on there. I'm going to bring some other books too that I want to read, and if I'm being honest with myself, I'm likely going to binge read it, so I will update you once I'm home. Guys, it is now the next day and I have read quite a bit more of Wild Love. I am on 45% of the way through, so I'm about halfway, and I'm definitely liking it as it's picking up a little bit more. I am loving the tension between our two love interests. I have seen a couple of reviews over the last day of people saying that this was her worst, or Elsie Silver's worst book yet, and then also people saying it's the best. Why is it whenever you're currently reading a book, you tend to see the most reviews of it you've ever seen in your entire life? Like, I've gone my entire life not knowing anything about this book. My entire life, I say that like it wasn't published, what, like a year ago? I had never really seen anyone talk about it, and then the second that I start reading it, I see all of these reviews. So I'm really still so intrigued to see how it's going to end, but I am really enjoying the tension between the love interests. I'm loving this dynamic between them, and I think the only romance book that I've ever read before where one of the main characters is a parent is All Roads Lead Here by Marina Zapata, and that is like my favourite romance book of all time. Obviously in this, the whole synopsis is that Ford essentially finds out that he is a dad because his daughter just turns up on his doorstep and is like, hi, you're my dad, and he's also like the world's hottest billionaire. It feels like there's a lot of layers playing into the story, and I'm really liking the dynamic, and I'm really flying through it, and I really hope that I can read a lot more today. I really want to finish it today. I can't remember if I also said that yesterday, but obviously I didn't end up finishing yesterday, but I do want to finish it today. I'm actually not planning on doing anything today other than I'm going to film a couple of clips and do some things for a different vlog that you're going to see soon, but other than that, like, I just want to sit down and read. It's definitely fun, and it's definitely the light-hearted romance sort of vibe that I wanted for Valentine's Day, so if it carries on being like this, I'm really intrigued to carry on with the rest of the series. Is it only like 2 of them are out currently? And actually, if I think about it, I think I've only probably read like 3 interconnected or just romance series in my life, so I will be really happy to add another one to that list. I'm really enjoying it. I'm really excited to carry on reading. I'm feeling all of like the love of a romance book and like the coziness and the tension and all of the vibes. I'm just loving it so much, so I'm gonna read a little bit more. I very nearly dropped my Kindle just then, and I'll speak to you later. Hi guys, I have now finished Wild Love by Elsie Silver, so obviously I wanted to come and give my thoughts. I really loved this. I didn't really know what to expect going into my first Elsie Silver. I know that like the Chestnut Spring series is like that cowboy romance series, so I didn't know if this was going to be in a similar vein. I honestly had no idea, and in comparison to all of my other reads, it was such a good palette cleanser. I feel like I really haven't been picking up that many contemporary romances over the past year. I love so many of the ones that I've read. I feel like it's a genre that when I find my favourite authors like Emily Henry or Abby Jimenez, for example, I will just stick to them and I will very rarely try out new ones. So I'm really happy that I really enjoyed this, because now I genuinely want to read all of her other books. Obviously I was reading this on my Kindle and it was just such a good experience. Like the tension between these characters I loved so much. I suppose ish that you could argue it is somewhat friends to lovers, because it is like brother's best friend, and I've never really read a trope like that. I know that's a really popular one. I've never really dabbled in that trope, and why was it so fun? Like, why did I actually have the time of my life with this? I think in the end I'm gonna rate it 4 stars. It was a really good solid romance for me. I thoroughly enjoyed my time with it. Like, I just love so much the tension, their banter too, like the constant taking the piss out of each other, the jokes, like that I feel so much to my core. I just really liked it. And obviously I saw, and I think I said earlier in one of my clips, so when I was reading a few reviews on this, a lot of people said it was her worst book, and considering I rated it 4 stars, I'm really excited to read more. Like, do I start the Chestnut Spring series? I feel like you guys will tell me if I think I'll like it or not. I don't know how I feel about Cowboys because I've never read it, but I could be down, so if it's good, please let me know. But I'm definitely going to carry on with this series. I know the second book is out, which makes me really happy because it means that I can read it so soon. I think I've also established, because All Roads Lead Here is one of my favourite romance books, if not my favourite romance book of all time, like when there is a parent in the book and that child becomes a prevalent character to the plot and to their relationship, I really like that. Like, and I didn't really expect it. Ultimately, I really liked Wild Love, and like I said, I'm really excited to carry on with the series and to read some more Elsie Silver. Who knew? Who would have thought that 2025 I would have fallen in love with Elsie Silver? Well, not fallen in love yet. There is potential for me to fall in love with her. I rated it 4 stars. I really enjoyed. On to the final prompt and the final book that I'm going to be reading for this video. Obviously the first prompt we had red and pink cover, and then the second prompt we had a pink cover. I'm quite nervous that it's just going to fall on the red cover prompt, because then we've just read red and pink books for this entire video, which is fine. I want something different. I'm just going to spin it because I'm nervous. I'm not looking as always. You guys can see first. Okay, has it spun? It is. Romance trope based on my relationship. That's a fun one. Okay, tropes that we could do for this. I suppose this also gives a little bit of lore into my relationship, but we could definitely do friends to lovers. We could also do some sort of forced proximity and roommates. I feel like those 3 are probably the main tropes of my relationship, so I don't know. Friends to lovers will probably be the easiest, but I don't know what we could do. I feel like this is another one that I'm gonna have to do some research on, so I'm gonna figure out what book we're gonna be reading and you will see it in about 2 seconds. As you would have seen, I have now started my last book for this video, which of course was a book trope corresponding to my in real life relationship. I thought this prompt was so fun and there were so many tropes that I could have chosen, but I feel like friends to lovers was obviously the most pivotal one in my relationship, and I feel like that is such a big trope anyway. I know a lot of people love friends to lovers and I haven't really read that many. I think the main ones that I've read are like You Again by Kate Goldbeck and You and Me on Vacation, or People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry. And honestly, considering my relationship is literally friends to lovers, I probably should be reading some more. So I was going down that sort of rabbit hole of a trope. I was doing my research because I really didn't know what to read. Then I saw a book that I've seen a lot of people talk about recently actually in terms of friends to lovers, and that is Ready or Not by Cara Basto. Literally saw so many of my friends start reading this on Goodreads and rate it quite highly. So I was always sort of intrigued and I kind of forgot about it, I'm not gonna lie. Then it was one of the first ones that popped up when I put friends to lovers, so I knew I wanted to read it and it is so good. I actually was listening to the audiobook on Spotify whilst getting ready this morning, so I think I'm on chapter 16. I'm 46% of the way through and I am really enjoying it. This has another trope that I haven't read that many times. The only book that I've ever read with this trope is Out on a Limb, where there's a pregnancy involved. In this, at the very start of the book, our main character essentially finds out that she is pregnant just basically from a one-night stand. See, following her grappling with this news and deciding what to do with the news, obviously telling the guy from the one-night stand, but this is friends to lovers and I swear to God, the friendships in this book, the dynamics in this book, I love everyone. Like, I love them so much. I love the found family element. Like, oh my God, I just can't. I've said it so many times, but one of my favorite things when it comes to romance books is when there is that added depth, especially if it comes to grief, and grief is a really prevalent part of this book and it's done so well. The author is handling it with so much consideration and such care, and I'm just really loving that element of the book too. I think it is adding so much more to the story, especially in terms of the friends to lovers. Just adoring it so much. And it is also set in New York, and any sort of romance that is set in New York, I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's because of like classic rom-coms, it just reminds me of the classic rom-com. The imagery of the setting, the imagery of New York, I'm just obsessed with everything about this book. I'm having so much fun reading it, and I literally started it last night and I read the first 50%, so I'm so excited to carry on reading. I'm planning on finishing this today because I would really like to get this video up, but based on like the time it's taken me to just read 50%, I'm fully expecting to honestly just binge read it in the next 2 hours and finish it, and then I'll give you guys an update. Really enjoying it so far, and hopefully the ending, I can imagine the ending is going to be just as good. Few hours later now, I just got home. I went for brunch with my best friends and it was so good, like genuinely the best pancakes I've ever had in my life, like ever. Before going, as you would have seen, I did a little bit of colouring. I was listening to the audiobook. I then brought my Kindle out and I have now finished Ready or Not. I loved this a whole lot more than I was anticipating. I think going into it, only knowing like a couple of the tropes, obviously I knew it was friends to lovers and I knew it had like a pregnancy plot. I really adored all of the dynamics and all of the friendships in this, not only between our love interests, but just all of the friendships. Like, it was so beautiful. There was a scene like 75% in where I literally was nearly crying listening to the audiobook whilst colouring because it was so beautiful and just so moving. I just absolutely adored how friendship was written in this, and it was such a breath of fresh air and definitely such an incredible romance. I would highly recommend. I think I'm gonna rate it 4 stars. I feel like that is a good place for me because I feel like it's a good solid 4 star, the same way that Wild Love was. I've definitely found some good romances that I really enjoyed in this video, which is kind of what I wanted. I feel like there isn't that much else to say other than the fact that I just thoroughly enjoyed this. I loved all of the tension and all of the cuteness. I'm not normally one in a romance who prefers cuteness, to be honest, but this did it so well. Like, the friends to lovers, it was probably one of my favourite ones that I've read, to be honest. I simultaneously really liked and appreciated the more in-depth discussions on like grief and just pregnancy and becoming a mother. I think that was done so well and just with so much care. I think all round this book was so good. I would highly recommend it. Like I said, 4 stars. But yeah guys, that obviously marks the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope that you enjoyed this style of vlog. Obviously for the most part everything that I read was very much out of my control. If you want to see more vlogs like this or with more like prompt style vlogs, please let me know. As always, if you've also read any of the books that I also read in this video, please let me know what you thought about them, whether you liked them or you disliked them, or if you stayed until the very end and you don't know what to comment and you would like to show you stayed until the end, just comment any pink emoji or like Valentine's themed emoji. And yeah, thank you guys so much for being here and for spending some time with me. I really hope you enjoyed, and I will see you again very soon with another video.